This is the voice and color of a miracle. This is the cry and clamor of a young democracy in the morning of its life. Here is the sinew and bone, the heart and marrow of a new nation, rising at the crossroads of history. This is the Holy Land. It has the look of the 20th century, the tempo and throb, the speed and rhythm of today, but its cities and villages, its factories and farms are set in the landscape of a timeless dream. Its workers and teachers and leaders move forward in the tide of a hope that was born long yesterdays ago upon this soil, the vision that kindled the great religions of mankind. And ahead of them is tomorrow's fulfillment, the free life and the good life that will embrace all men here, Christian, Muslim, and Jew. The music of the past echoes over the hills of the Holy Land. The new children of Israel listen to the legends of a time forever enchanted, forever new. Before their eyes, the mysteries of the Bible spring to life again. The earth lifts up the relics of lost empires, stone upon stone. The Canaanite kings, the might of Rome, the conquering crusades. Here are the secrets of a city that prospered when David was king. Alive, alive, marvelous and forever beckoning, the world of yesterday raises up its horizons to the eager mind. In this urn was found an Isaiah manuscript 1,000 years older than any known. Once long ago, humble men and women walked here in the footsteps of the prophets. Here was born the idea of one God that was to girdle the whole world with promise. Beyond loomed the walls of old Jerusalem in Arab hands today. The holy city is still the core of all that is sacred to three religions of mankind. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre shelters the early shrines of Christianity. The Mosque of Omar declares the might of the Muslim creed. Cloaked in silence is the Wailing Wall, altar of the great Hebrew past. And to the south lies Bethlehem, in Arab hands too, and the Church of the Nativity. But wherever the byways of the Holy Land remain free, the winds of fellowship still blow clean and strong. In the state of Israel, the hearts of men and women dedicated to a holy life are one in purpose, whatever their names, whatever their faith. They walk upon the soil where once it was said, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor." Those who pray now in Nazareth pray for peace on earth, goodwill to men. Enduring is the earth and the rock of the land. The ancient commandments of love sustain themselves through all the savage seasons of history. Like the Sea of Galilee, which can change its mood from serenity to a wild thundering of tides, the nations of men, tossed between destruction and calm, want for themselves today what Israel wants for its own, the end of strife. It was here in Capernaum, when the world was young, that Jesus declared the gospels of peace and brotherhood. Here, two great cultures blend in stone. A monastery garden cradles the ruin of an ancient Hebrew synagogue. The Star of David faces the Star of Solomon in eternal dignity, symbols of a people who believed in morality and the benevolence of one God. Time has not erased those laws, nor human intolerance been able to smash the most fervent of all human hopes, to return to Zion. For here it stands on the fringes of the past, the stone and soil and strength of tomorrow. Here it rises on the doorstep of history, the face and form of tomorrow. Here it spreads upon the landscape of a dream, the answer to the prophecy, the wilderness and the parched land shall be glad, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. This is the port of Haifa on a golden morning in our own time. This is a ship from the borders of hell, bearing the homeless children of Israel who were destined not to die. No harbor in all the legend of human journey has seen such cargo. No port in all the story of human refuge has echoed to the melody of such welcome. So a family of children anywhere might come home to their own kin after a long voyage. So they have been hailed in the thousands and thousands in the greatest homecoming of history. It is almost as if the fathers and brothers, the mothers and friends who vanished into the darkness of Hitler's world are given back to them in this miraculous hour on the soil of the promised land. Yesterday, in the memory of such children, it meant something else to be herded upon trucks. Now they journey without terror, knowing there is life, not death, at the end of this road, knowing this is just the beginning of life. This is their reception center, where they will wait before going to the children's villages or the farm settlements of Israel. Born in far places, speaking many tongues, they call to each other in the common language of gladness. This is their first taste of home, laughter and comradeship, shelter, the faces of children, old in sorrow, who will learn at last how to be children. The names of these children were once entered upon the records of death. Now they speak their names in the name of life. It is a new sensation to be gazed upon by friendly eyes. It is a new experience to be touched by gentle hands. So a mother might lead her child homeward on a summer afternoon anywhere in the world. So a child might walk in confidence at the side of a friend anywhere in the world. But to this child, all such things are new. It is new to have a place to call home and a bed of one's own, personal property, and pride of possession. New and beyond belief is the gift of food. Here is all the bread a child can eat, and no hand shall snatch it from them in a dark tomorrow. And here are all the books a child can read, and all the hungering is at an end, and all the loneliness, and all the emptiness. In another reception camp are newcomers to Israel who have managed to survive as families. To such men and women, work is finer nourishment than bread. Work is purpose, and work is hope. The tiny houses in which they wait to become part of the larger community of Israel are like temples. For these people were once bereft of all the dignity of men. At least from their doorstep, they can see the cities and vineyards where soon they will rebuild their lives. At least each man can declare in thanksgiving, "This is where I belong." Time moves swiftly under these skies. In the children's villages, boys and girls born under the shadow of barbed wire are already at home in the sunlight of blossoming meadows. They who belonged yesterday to no one now have possessions of their own, pets to care for, and love. For the therapy of love flows around them in a ceaseless magic. And they begin to look like familiar children anywhere. Eager, busy, secure. Every day is a day of new healing. The seeds in these young hands are the seeds of hope, which they themselves shall reap. And the fruit is the fruit of life. And they taste of it in the place where long ago it was foretold, the land shall flow with milk and honey. In the task of healing the spirits of frightened children, Israel has made music its great ally. The language of song is a universal tongue. It speaks to the heart of the young, and the young are no longer afraid. Upon these glistening sands, the kings of an ancient world once held their festivals of dance. In sight of these waters, they gather in rejoicing, where once the makers of psalms commanded the children of Israel to sing with the psaltery and the timbrel and the harp, and to chant their thanksgiving and to dance in exaltation. In this land of brave new beginnings, the people marry early, eager to bind themselves to those they can love, for all of them have known too much loneliness. Their ceremonies have the color and the joy of customs remembered from their childhood in other lands. The wine they drink is the fruit of their own vineyards. The eyes that watch them are the mirror of their own face in tomorrow. Their children will be safe and strong and will come to manhood in a land that is their own. Their children will know the sunlight of a tenderness that belongs rightly to the golden time of youth. From these children, born into the ideals of freedom, there may come someday great gifts for all humanity, gifts of science and of music and of human healing. Unlike their fathers and mothers, they will have memories of normal childhood, kindled with love. Like children anywhere else, they will remember how they went to meet their parents in the twilight of working afternoons. The simple fun of family hours together will linger with them, and images of evenings around the hearth of their own homes. These boys will tell their sons of the joys of their scouting days, and how they shared their holidays with friends in the shining waters of the Jordan. For everywhere in this ancient land, the accent is upon life. Life and freedom, life and hope under a kindly sky. The beaches of Tel Aviv are vivid with holiday crowds. Over the water skim the rafts of the watchers. The young men piloting these lifeboats are skilled in the science of rescue. To these people who have fled the nightmare of other continents, this new life is still a wondrous gift. To these men and women, snatched from the pits of misery, a single human life is more precious than any gift of man. Wherever there is need, wherever there is pain, the hand of healing is stretched out gladly. The medical strength of Israel's hospitals and health stations reaches into every corner of the land, into the byways of poverty, into the lives of all the people, Muslim, Christian, or Jew. There are no differences in human flesh. There is only humanity. And because the Jews of Israel know what it means to be without friends and without succor, they give of their own strength to their neighbors too. These small human beings have been gathered in from all the corners of the world. Some are without name. Some are clinging to life by sheer miracle. What they have seen, no man can be sure. But sure and steady are the hands of mercy, lifting them now out of the shadows. Sure and strong is the love that hovers over each of them, and the skill that draws each of them back toward life. And the blind child gives hope to those who see. Day after day, to these gates of mercy, come the poor of every race and faith, waiting their turn to be comforted. No human being is turned away. All are alike in the sight of charity. At rehabilitation centers, girls and boys who never knew the meaning of play learn how to shape beauty with their own hands. Dances like this one by Yemenite children bring into their horizon the flavor and charm of other cultures. Christian and Jew are one in this democracy of healing, one in friendship, one in knowledge that blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Time has not altered the Judeo-Christian concept of brotherhood, nor the calm and color of Nazareth, where Jesus lived in his youth. At Mary's well, the women of Nazareth still come in the cool of the day for their water. Here life moves in tranquility, and 1,000 years are as yesterday. So the world must have looked in the days of the prophets. So the town crier gave out his news, and the rope makers shake their wares. So the artisans of long ago carved out their tools. So families, time out of mind, set forth on journeys across the desert. And shepherds turned the faces of their flocks toward the places where meadows were green. And men threshed their wheat under the blazing noon of the east. But a little way beyond, the rhythm of our own time encroaches upon history. In the government office of Nazareth, Arabs find counsel and guidance for the problems of everyday living. Schools maintained by the government of Israel are staffed by Arab and Hebrew instructors. In teaching each other the two languages of the land, they learn to be comrades and to understand each other's heritage and hopes. In this nation of perpetual pioneering, the wilderness gives way day after day to brave new villages. Wherever new colonies rise, there, in the midst of festivities, appear the robes of Arab neighbors and friends. All over Israel, a fulfillment, as it were, of a timeless hope. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Israel shares with her Arab neighbors the greatest of all gifts, the life-giving waters that are transmuting the deserts of the Holy Land into a green garden. This modern pipeline, lacing the sands of the Negev, was set down by the toil of Jewish hands. The Bedouin who once roamed with his family from oasis to oasis now finds his water in a sure place. Here in Beersheba, where the thunder of guns ripped the air short days ago, flags of peace are flowing in the sun. All who dwell here and elsewhere in Israel are free to live their own lives in security and to call this land their home. It was said in the days of our forefathers that a time would come when nation shall not lift up sword against nation. Here where the swords have fallen, the new grass is already high. With a marvelous will of the human heart to replenish and renew, the people are coming back to build. The song of birds is heard in the shell holes. Young hands bent to the earth in courage, beating their swords into plowshares. The beams of the trenches of battle become the rafters of the homes of three men. For the time of tears is gone, and the time of exile is past, and the strength and the faith now are for life and for peace and for a brave tomorrow. This is the miracle in a time of many marvels. This young democracy of Israel, welcomed into the partnership of nations, lifting its bright new spires over the hills and plains, where long ago was born the dream of the equality of men. These are the children who were lost and have come home. These are the rescued and restored children, whose joy in their newfound freedom echoes in the hearts of free people everywhere. But greater than any miracle is the Holy Land itself. For centuries, the source and fountain of all that is richest in human striving. For here, the prophecies of the Bible are coming into full flower. Its magnetic force streams outward across the life of nations and into our own lives with an immemorial wisdom, the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man.